Secret friends, unite!
Hey, friends, welcome back to the Secret Friends Unite. Oops, all Thunderdome, our main show where we love talking about topic of the week, thing of the minute. And this is revisiting kind of a preamble vid that we did a couple of weeks ago where Kurt and I were talking about the upcoming Lanterns, which is now on HBO MAX. Now, Kurt was not able to be here today, had another commitment, but I brought back some stellar dudes. One of which, it's kind of funny because I'll introduce him, but then I'll kind of tell you what the dichotomy is. On my extreme right, at least as I'm looking, I have returning favorite, industry giant, at least in my opinion, Scott Tipton. Scott, how are you today, my friend?
Oh, you're too kind, too kind. Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, it's better to be too kind than just to be a real prick, which I could do that too, but, you know, nobody wants to work with a real prick. And then I have my number two dude, Peter, hanging out with me. Peter, hello again.
Hello.
So this is going to be kind of interesting because we have somebody who, Scott, who works in the biz, writes weekly columns about comics, past and present. And so he knows far more about comics than I could. I am an enthusiast of the Green Lantern character, but from the perspective that I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Marvel guy. I get bits and pieces of DC stuff. There are things I've enjoyed, things that I've hated, which is the same with Marvel as well. And then we have Peter, who is practically a babe in the woods when it comes to this kind of stuff. Not a comic reader, though. I'm getting him in. Scott, you be happy. I'm dragging another one. I'm dragging another one into the Lion's Den to read comics with us all the time. So it's
some, just not tons.
It's an ongoing process, but we're going to have some cool different perspectives about the show. So I'm psyched. So let me get the bill paying stuff out of the way first and foremost. Got to give some love to the people over on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon. These are the wonderful people who support the show and get great bonus content. They get early shows and a special channel over on our Discord. It's real easy. Your first week is for free. Even if you stay on board for free, you can still keep track of everything that we're doing, which I think is really the absolute best way to keep track of us. But if you want to stay on board and listen to our audio, your first month is half off, and then it's as little as $2 a month to stay on board. So we would love to have you be with us. Again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Try us out. See if you dig us. Cancel at any time, etc. So, with the bill paying portion out of the way, let's get into the mix. We're talking, of course, about Lanterns, which is over on HBO Max, American superhero television series by Chris Mundy, who previously did at least one of the early seasons of True Detective, if I'm not mistaken, which there are those vibes all over that. And then that was kind of what we were billed for it to be. Damon Lindelof and Tom King. And Tom King, Scott, help me out, big time comic writer involved with Green Lantern, or at least on the DC side. Educate me.
I'm not so much. He's not really known for Green Lantern, but he's been all over the DC output for the last few years. I mean,
that's what I thought. Yeah, that was
a popular wrote on Nightwing. He's had some other kind of mini series that have been popular. Supergirl, I think, was another one of his big series.
Right, the movie. He wrote the story that they bungled the movie from, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he write
yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Well, if you didn't see it, don't waste your time. And we've talked about that extensively here, but regardless. So this new series is following well-known Green Lantern characters Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, featuring...
Is it really?
Sorry, go ahead. What?
Is it following Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart? Because that did not feel like either of those characters ever.
Right. Well, as I said, we're going to get into how we're feeling about this. And I think if there's an early indication, we have the devil on my shoulder and the angel on my shoulder. Maybe yes, maybe no. But yes. And so we're seeing kind of a mentorship, or that's how it's being pitched, of Jordan mentoring Jon Stewart. Our key characters, Kyle Chandler, or Chandelier, as I'd like to call him, and Aaron Pierre, playing Jordan and Stewart, respectively, alongside Kelly MacDonald, Garen Dillahunt, Purna. Wow, it almost looks like Jonathan. Peter, you're a good one with names. You want to take a stab at that last name for me?
No, that name is out of my wheelhouse of knowing how to pronounce.
And of course, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, who we did not see in this episode. Announced in January 2023, along with this detective story style inspired by True Detective, we talked about, and Slow Horses, which is a show I just started to watch but haven't really dug too much into. Slow Horses, James Howes was hired to direct the first 2 episodes. The show came on August 16th, which was just a week ago as we're recording this. The second episode will be on this evening. And will continue for 8 episodes until October 4th, part of the DC Studios Chapter 1's Gods and Monsters. I'm going to have one more bit, and then I'm going to just open the floodgates because I know that Scott's like, he's got stuff he wants to say, and I want to hear him say it. To its benefit, as far as the critical public and the audience public, over on Rotten Tomatoes, currently polling at about a 94%, making it way certified fresh for the critics, and then the popcorn meter, 82%, which means audiences are just kind of digging on it. I'm going to accelerate. I'm going to flip-flop a couple of these. I'm going to flip favorite moments with moments we could have done without, and I'm going to let Scott go first because I have enormous respect for your opinion as someone who knows a lot about comics, way more than I did. Scott, not a fan, but I want to hear the why. Please educate me.
It really felt to me like a Green Lantern show by people who don't really like Green Lantern.
Like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, all of the mythology, all of the I mean, just the fun, not there at all. But the bigger issue is just the characters just do not make sense to me as portrayed for like the last 60 years. I mean,
okay.
Hal Jordan is your leading man. He's your straight man. And then Guy Gardner is the egotistical buffoon character who's arrogant and everything. Well, why do we need Guy Gardner if we have Hal Jordan being the exact same character?
That's a valid point.
You know, I read a lot of Jon Stewart comics, and I don't remember him like hanging out in a bar and then having sex with like a stranger in the truck.
I made a note of that too. That did not work for me, without a doubt. It was gross. Yeah,
it was so bizarre and just out of not even. I mean, and out of character isn't fair because I understand every show is taking their own take on it. But even within the way the character is being portrayed, unless you realize that this character is so absolutely scarred by his horrible father shooting a gun at him every day.
Which also did not clock with me. So yeah, I know we're hopping ahead to the frowny face, but yeah, real weird turns. And again, I'm coming from a place that I don't know a lot. I'm not even familiar enough with the Stewart character because I didn't really follow the comics in the 90s. I didn't really follow the animated version of the characters, which I know were a little bit more prevalent in the early aughts. And then so other people may know about. So I just don't know much about the character. I think of Jon Stewart, and of course I think of The Daily Show, but real person, fictional person, and absolutely nothing alike. But yeah, I'm going to have to be on board with you certainly for the Jon Stewart. If his character just does not seem like a heroic character or someone that would be, what you see portrayed as the Green Lantern is they're chosen specifically for the trueness of their, the quality of their character or whatever it is. But this Jon Stewart character seems like his life is kind of a mess, or, he's got a lot of deep-seated trauma that maybe that doesn't mean that he's not a good guy, but yeah, it really threw me. And even really from this first episode, maybe there's more to it than what we're seeing, but yeah, to put the negative before the positive, there's a lot of mysteries for me, without a doubt. Okay, let's gear back again. Peter, why don't we start with you? What are some things? And again, let's A, start with your familiarity with the character, and then B, talk about maybe some things you enjoyed about it.
Okay. So my familiarity with Green Lantern, you're probably going to laugh, is basically a few clips of the cartoon series from like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Is it the Justice League? Was it Justice League Unlimited? Does that ring a bell, Scott?
It was Justice League Unlimited, and then there was also a short-lived Green Lantern animated series that focused mostly on
okay.
Yeah. So so my familiarity was the little clips of that. one of my friends owns a comic book shop and has talked to me extensively about the various lanterns. I don't remember half of the information, but he gave me a lot of it.
Well, there's a lot of it in the last. How old is the character, Scott? 80 years old, maybe older?
Well, the version, the Silver Age version was in 1961.
There you go. So it's as old as the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Slash Spider-Man-ish. Yeah.
So I've seen that, and then I've had like a little bit of interaction with like the maybe best not mentioned Ryan Reynolds film, and a few other things there. But that's mostly my understanding of Green Lantern. Like I've seen some clips and talked to friends who have read the comics, like when the Lanterns appeared in Zack Snyder's Justice League and some other things to get a little bit of context there. Cause like we saw the Ring. And so I'm aware of some of like how it works. And there were some crossovers with some Star Trek comics. And so I got a little bit of an idea.
Right. Yeah. With the JJ, the Kelvin. Yeah. And so, and again, Scott, that was in your wheelhouse because I know you wrote 4 Star Trek comics within that era. That wasn't one of yours, was it? Am I a total dummy? Okay, no, good. I want to be like, I'm talking to you about this and it's yours. I don't want to be a moron.
No, definitely not one of mine. I thought they did a good job with it. Just as a sidebar, I could never get my head around superheroes mixing in with Star Trek like that. So I was glad they didn't ask because I wouldn't have had a take on it. But yeah, it was a pretty well done book.
Yeah. I remember enjoying it. And again, Peter and I are not great fans of Star Trek 09 and that whole universe. But yeah, I thought it was, and again, I was also coming from reading it because it's been over 10 years since I've read it because I don't think I read it as it came out. I probably picked it up on Comixology or something and read it. And I don't, Peter, you're familiar with it? Have you read any of it? Are you familiar?
Not thoroughly. No, I've read like a couple pages.
Yeah, this is a decent story.
So my understanding of the Green Lantern is a little bit lower, but I do know enough to know a little bit about the character of like Hal Jordan and the differences between him and Guy Gardner and Jon Stewart.
Right.
So I at least knew who all 3 of them were and had like a vague understanding of their different characters when I started this.
Gotcha.
So just as a side note, I do kind of agree with Scott's description of Hal. So even my very, very layman's understanding of who Hal Jordan is, it didn't quite, from my understanding and the descriptions I was given, it didn't seem to quite match. There was even a spot, which we can get into later, that I was like, maybe I found an explanation for it, but it ended up not being entirely accurate. So,
right. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, in my first exposure, again, Marvel guy for a very long time, but even before I started reading, you know, my first Marvel comic was the Star Wars and Indiana Jones, then G.I. Joe, then Spider-Man a few years later, and then I was mainlining Marvel comics from then until now, so over 40 years. But my first real exposure to superheroes was the Super Friends in the late 70s when I was too young to remember anything, to reruns that I would probably watch at my grandparents' house summers and stuff when I was on there. Because I remember very clearly watching, here's a Super Friends memory. I was watching an episode and they had one of those big console, this was like maybe 1981 or 82, one of those big like pieces of furniture TV, Scott, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, the wood cabinet. Yes.
Wood cabinet. And watching an episode where it was like Lex Luthor had Superman on the ropes, and it had something to do with like he had captured Mod Pa Kent or something, and they were getting to a climactic moment, and the TV went out. Like it went on the fritz, because you remember, you know, the antenna. So I'm not sure, and it's funny because thanks to Kurt, my partner Kurt, I own all the Super Friends episodes on DVD. He gave me a sampler that he got that he didn't want anymore. I'd have to do a lot of research to figure out what the hell episode that was, but I feel like I should put in the time because I'm curious. But yeah, that was how I learned about Green Lantern. I'm like, he's a guy, he's got a ring on his finger, he can make all kinds of different stuff, and like even like the Blue Guardians and the Planet Oa and the different stuff. I really learned, and I talked about this in our primer episode. I really learned about that from playing one of the Lego Batman movies. It was like Lego Batman 3, you know, worlds of DC, and one of the workable worlds was walking around Oa in a circle, and you got to uncover this rock and do this thing, and then you can get more coins or whatever. So I'm cobbling together a lot of sources here, and then working with Todd, my old partner, who loves Green Lantern. He always pronounced it Lantern, which I don't know if that was a regional thing. He's from Flint, Michigan area, so I have no idea. But he kind of got me into it, and I like the character certainly for the very science fiction-y elements of it. Being from space and doing stuff in space and blah, blah, blah. And DC tends to have more of a corner on humans and aliens coming to Earth things. I feel like more than Marvel tends to ever really do. Like that's kind of their stock and trade. I don't know. It's just always kind of a vibe I got. So that was my big Green Lantern grab. So I will be with you guys dipping into this. I never think, oh, Hal Jordan's a big hero. I think Hal Jordan kind of seems like an alcoholic jackass, and he's jerking this poor kid around who doesn't really seem that super heroic. You know, he's going to sleep with some random lady in his truck, and he had this traumatic childhood where his dad, who was a Marine, to punish him, would put an apple on top of his head and shoot the apple off of it.
Really tell it, yeah.
And then be like, oh, you're a good boy. Let's go do some burgers. I'm like, where is CPS? Jesus Christ. That really horrified me.
What I assume that is he's trying to train the kid to have no fear, so he'll be picked to be a Green Lantern. So he's like the ultimate kind of stage dad.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right. It's a pageant. It's reverse a pageant mom.
Yeah, because they even cut to that in that interview where he talks about the main motivation for being a Lantern is to have no fear. So they've locked into that.
Right.
So I'm gonna torture this kid till he has no fear.
Oh my God, it's like it's the Jackson 5 all over again. The kid is Michael Jackson. He's Papa Joe. Oh my God. Oh no.
He's absolutely Papa Jackson.
Oh my God, he's Papa Joe. That is absolutely terrible. To say some good things, I did love the cast. You know, Chandelier, from Friday Night Lights, and a lot of other great stuff. Aaron Pierre was in Krypton, which I never saw. I don't know. Did you dabble with that show, Scott? Any familiarity?
Yeah,
it was on Sci-Fi. No,
yeah,
okay.
Sci-Fi. I think it ran like 2 years, but I never watched it. But I mean, I got no problem with the cast. The performances are fine. That's not the issue at all.
Right. Kelly McDonald was a sheriff. She was in Trainspotting when she was a teen, which is like, oh my God, that's that girl. Garrett Dillahunt is an actor who's in tons of stuff. He was in Fear the Walking Dead for a couple of years. And then we're going to get Nathan Fillion returning as Guy Gardner, who I thought was a great part of 2025 Superman. Because I don't know, Scott, you tell me, it felt really true to the character, right? I mean, kind of a jackass. Nobody likes him, shooting off his mouth.
Yeah. But also at heart, still a decent person who's able to fit that role. Otherwise, he would have never had the ring. So it's like,
you're right.
He's a jackass. He's still worthy.
You're right. Like Thor's hammer. Think about it like that. The Green Lantern ring is kind of like Mjolnir. So I totally get that. I enjoyed like little stuff that I picked up from the Easter egg videos. When Hal decides to jump out of the car and let it in the cold open and let it go over the cliff to see how Stewart's going to get out of it. When it crashes, you see in the little tiny corner a little green blurb, and then he then says, "Oh, I made bubble wrap to get myself out of it." I thought that was kind of cute. I mean, I enjoyed little stuff out of it, but let's talk about that ending. Peter, you messaged me when you were watching. You were like, is he? And again, this is obviously a spoiler cast, so sorry. Probably should have mentioned that going in. But I put it in the show notes, so hopefully you've been warned. So at the end, we get, because, the show takes place in increments. The shooting the apple off the head part takes place in 1986. In 1996, that was 1996. Hal becomes Green Lantern in 1986, which is told in flashback. We don't actually see it. Our core story is taking place 10 years ago, 2016. And then our last bit jumps forward back to the same small Nebraska town setting, where Aaron Pierre is returning. And because he's been called by Kelly McDonald's character to come back, and I've got to show you some of these all shrouded mystery. And there, it's wintertime, it's snowing, it's night, and they go back into the football stadium, which was the setting of the mysterious murder that happened at a football game. What the hell's going on? And there's Hal Jordan sitting there, the victim of a gunshot wound to the forehead, missing his ring. What the hell's going on? And then of course that's the final scene of the episode. So did that, Scott, I'm guessing I know the answer, but did that make you want to learn more? Or did that was like, oh God, what a ripoff? And what did you guys think about that?
For me, it felt like kind of a typical pilot. I say typical makes it sound like I think it's bad. It's kind of a normal sort of pilot cliffhanger to really get people hooked in. I didn't really have a problem with that because I don't think there's any there's multiple ways a story could go that could leave us with Hal still around or not. My bigger problem with that is that I don't think the time jumps were well expressed in the story to the point that, like, oftentimes I didn't realize until the very end that we hadn't gotten to the modern day yet, because the time jumps, I didn't think they were really well came across.
Yeah. Yeah. I will admit that I had kind of a lack of enthusiasm for the non-linear storytelling piece, which is exactly what you're talking, like kind of Tarantinoing the deal, kind of doing the Pulp Fiction thing. Like, well, we're at the diner and now it's the thing with the Zed in the basement. And then and then you got it. Your brain has to piece it all together, which at the time was, enormously successful. Sorry, quick pause. Yeah, how did you guys feel about the nonlinear storytelling? Scott, you obviously didn't feel it was connected correctly. Peter, what about you?
I don't think it bothered me too much. I was able to track when things were supposed to be fairly well, but that's probably because I'm just used to with films making weird decisions on time travel,
right?
And temporal and how they lay their stories out. So this one worked for me in terms of how it broke it up because it didn't have the flashbacks in too many weird places,
right?
But I will say that, like what we spoke about a little bit earlier, is I didn't see the ending coming, in part because I thought that Hal Jordan was going to be a main part of this, so I wasn't expecting him to be
right.
dead.
And because it's being told in flashback, I have no doubt that the majority of the story will or a good chunk of the story will take place in 2016.
Yeah,
but
we'll still probably see him in flashbacks, but it was still just one of those like, okay, so
right.
I guess the hook kind of worked, but for me it wasn't the "ooh boy, I want to learn more." It was the what?
Yeah,
okay,
right.
Now you got to tell me what's happening.
Exactly. And so he, and Stewart his reaction seemed to suggest that he expected that Hal was still active and he should have had a ring. But 10 years earlier, he was getting, and this is another one I ran into. So he was getting Stewart ready to take on a role as being a Lantern. But did that happen? Because then it's always, and Scott, maybe you can speak to this. Lanterns are supposed to be one per sector, which is a chunk of space. We've already got. Did we have Guy Gardner in 2016 on Earth, or is he only there in 2026? Because this is, the Superman 2025 movie was set in that year. So this is a year after that. And we know Garner's still around. So what's going on with all that? There's so many, it dredges up a lot of questions. And Scott, to your point, it's your hook that's supposed to, with the first episodes being, oh my God, what's going on? And I got to watch the making of, and chat rooms are buzzing and the internet is talking about, it's trying to create buzz around getting the show interesting to get more people to jump on, particularly with the streaming show, because someone can just start from the beginning, even if it's, episode 3 or 4 is airing, or even if the show is over. So, is there any precedent, Scott, in Green Lantern storytelling where they threw that rule out, or did it get retconned to New 52 or something? Like, what's the deal with that?
Well, traditionally, the way it works is there's one lantern for each sector, but then also on for each lantern there is a designated backup. So that if Green Lantern gets hit by a yellow bus and boom, the ring will then fly off of his hand and go to the new guy. And so for a lot of years, that was John Stewart's role. He was the designated as having been found without fear. And so if anything happened to Hal Jordan, he would step in. And he would kind of periodically do that over the years when Hal Jordan would be taken, I don't know, off planet or out of the universe, or he'd decide he'd quit for a while. And similarly, Guy Gardner was also chosen in the exact same way. And then again, I'm getting super deep in the continuity.
Go for it.
He had brain trauma after an injury and never got the chance to be Green Lantern until after John Stewart was designated. And then by the time you get to the 80s and the Crisis, that's whenever Guy Gardner really kind of became like the main Green Lantern guy for the continuity at the time. And then since then, it's kind of swapped around. But historically, there's one Lantern and one backup.
So you got a pinch hitter, so to speak. Yeah, exactly. You got your understudy. If you can't go on and do Our Town, then Bill Simpson's going to do it. So got it. So all right, so let's talk season 1 kind of wish list here. So Scott, and I'll kind of post it to Scott. Now I sound like a car salesman. Scott, what do I got to do to get you in this car today? Like what needs to happen for Scott to maybe change his tune and start enjoying the show? What's missing that they could change an episode? Let's say you sat down and watched episode 2 tonight. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. That's up to you. But what would you need to see, want to see that might say, okay, maybe I'll give this another chance?
Well, the things I do know is there are definitely more sci-fi elements involved coming. Just
Okay.
based on some of the footage we saw at Comic-Con and some of the trailers. We got a glimpse of Sinestro, so we know Sinestro's coming.
Yep.
There's talk of the Manhunters, who are traditionally the biggest
Right.
foe for the Land or the Manhunters. And
Right.
the Manhunters are also why I don't really believe Hal Jordan's dead, because one of the things that Manhunters can do is look like anybody.
Right. Yeah, they're scrolls. They're scrolls, but they're a hell of a lot more powerful.
As
Peter.
a side note, that is what I thought was happening after the bubble wrap scene. So after he let him launch in the car, and he's walking by himself, and he gets Hollow Jordan.
Yeah. Hologram.
Yeah, the hologram. When he gets the hologram, just the way that he interacted, and it was like from 8 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
And it was just one of those like, I wonder if he's been replaced somehow. Maybe he's dead,
Right.
maybe he's not. But that was my first thought when the hologram appeared.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was also my other issue. Is there's some plot stuff here that like doesn't really work. What triggered the hologram to show up at that time?
He tried to use the ring. That's kind of all.
Was that what they used the ring?
Yeah, he put the ring on and then did something with it, and he like brushed it, and hologram appeared.
Yeah, but
the warranty. Yeah, it's like waving your watch around.
Yeah,
it does stuff.
I wasn't clear on that, and like some of the deductions that they made, like hey, that guy's wearing a short sleeve shirt. He must be one of the killers. Really? That's what
it's like a Jack Reacher level of detective. Like, whoa, that was this and that, and it's not the time of the day for the banks to be open, so that guy must be the killer. Yeah, or something. Yeah.
And also, then this is where it's like, well, you're Green Lantern. You've got that ring. Zip him out of there and go talk to him. Why are we going through all this business of like checking in with the local magistrate?
Right. Yeah, leaning a little hard into getting away from the Green Lantern piece. But yeah, no, I can dig it. All right. So Peter, what would you put on your season 1 wish list above and beyond kind of what we just talked about?
My wish list would be to see all 3 lanterns in the room together doing either
like Han, Luke, and Leia.
Yeah. kind of do a team up that, would be kind of cool. Maybe fight Sinestro or whoever ends up being the villain together. That would be really neat for me. But other than that, just keep writing so that the story isn't bad. It's basically
keep writing so the story isn't bad.
Which is clearly not a well-written sentence in my head.
Right.
Do better than that, right?
Right.
Like, write well so that the story continues on a trajectory rather than face planting into the dirt in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
That is a solid analysis. Yeah. No, I echo a lot of that. The questions are frustrating when you're watching a show week to week, but it's also really engaging. And I like you just want to feel like at the end of the day that my kind of investment of being around for this is just not for nothing. So I'm excited to see what they bring out of it. So, okay. So final question. No, go ahead, please.
My biggest thing is a question of tone. And this might be why no matter what they do, it might not be for me, which is cool. Not everything has to be for me, but
very true.
This is a show about a space cop with a wishing ring. Why does it need to be grim and gritty? Nothing about the gritty. There should be an element of, if not whimsy or fun, but that was what Superman was so great last year with Gunn. Is this was a world that had dark things, but also whimsical things and fun things. And here it just all of the grim and grittiness feels like we have to pack it in here because it's on HBO Max and we want it to be dark and gritty. So make sure Hal Jordan curses a lot, and I don't know, have Jon Stewart bang that girl in the truck. It felt it felt pushed in.
Yeah. All right. So I'm probably sticking my hand in the bear's mouth here, but what would be kind of your out of 10 rating for this, Scott? Are we over 50%?
Oh, for me, again, and this is the thing, it's not for me. So for me, no. So I probably wouldn't come back to it at all, except for after this conversation, I want to see if you guys are right.
Oh, look at that. All right, HBO. Checks HBO. We just got you one more person giving you minutes. Peter, how about you out of 10? What do you think?
I would probably give this a 6.
Oh man.
6 or 7, just because there's just a lot of things that I'm not really sure about right now. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't ooh, I really, really like where you're going with this, because it's not really clear to me on what the character arcs are even set up to be yet. Like there's an inkling with Stewart, and there's, at least in the back of my head, there's a possibility of what they might do with Jordan, depending on whether or not his living status is confirmed. But
As in being living.
yeah. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot that I'm seeing, like, where we can go with the characters that could be like an addition to the character. And so that's always kind of my sticking point when it comes to story. If like you're not like being super flash and doing a lot of things, then all you've got for me to go on is your story and your characters. And it didn't do a ton with them. So it's not, so it didn't, that's why it's not so high for me.
Gotcha. Well, I guess I'm the only, I won't even say ray of light, but no, I love the hell out of this. I guess I gave it a 9. Maybe I feel like I should be a 8, but whatever. But it was, I guess it was kind of like the bar was low. I mean, DC has not been in a great place since Superman, which was great. But we had Supergirl, which was god awful. And I'll die on that hill. I've heard from maybe 1 or 2 people who liked it, but the population, it didn't make 75 million at the box office. That's a huge failure. And that's not for nothing. It's not because it was great and people didn't understand. It just was not a great adaptation of the source material. And people didn't like the tone, to Scott's point. It was grim and gritty while trying to be a little bit more Guardians of the Galaxy, and they just didn't pull it off. And that kind of calls into fate Clayface, which I saw a trailer for. We went to the movies on Friday night. We saw a horror movie. So Clayface being billed as a horror movie, it kind of has that vibes. I mean, we'll go see it, but I don't know how it's going to click with audiences. Maybe the rise in horror thrillers, like, with Obsession and Backrooms this summer, maybe that's going to help it. But DC Studios, for me, on the small screen, continues to crush it. I'm a massive fan of Peacemaker. Enjoyed the hell out of that show. I talked with my friend Stephanie Tchaikovsky last fall about it. We enjoyed it. The Creature Commandos, the animated series, which is another one of Guns, which is in continuity. I enjoyed the hell out of another season of that. Is coming back.
Commando. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel like they're doing it, but they're working on kind of subverting expectations, doing twists. I wrote genre bending, which almost sounds like gender bending, but we haven't done that yet. But we might, because you don't know what's coming. I like it. I'm in for the ride, but again, I'm not coming from a point where I'm so steeped in the lore that I felt like they're like, oh, this is not my Hal Jordan. You know what I mean? All I know of Hal Jordan really is from Damn Super Friends, and nothing is going to be like that. It'd be like me trying to judge modern day Batman off of Adam West. You know what I mean? It's just a very different character. So I enjoyed it. I respect the point if we end up in the middle or we're on the back end of it. But Scott, I'm glad that we've cajoled you into watching one more episode at least. So and any day now, Warner Brothers will be sending me a huge check because I absolutely saved their bacon. But anyway, for anyone who is listening and then been spoiled and have not watched this, sorry. Scott, go ahead.
Yep. Let's be frank. HBO Max gets my money every week because they have all of the Batman and Justice League animated series, and just having those at my fingertips, I'm never getting rid of HBO Max. So
it's the same thing with Paramount Plus. It's why no matter what they do, they have all the Star Trek, almost all the Star Treks, and it's just more convenient, even though I got them on disc, to watch them there. So I totally get it. But yeah, that is, for anybody who doesn't know, who hasn't seen it, this is in the Prestige slot Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO Max. And we encourage you to check it out and not only make up your own mind, but hit us up on any of our socials. I'll give the tags in a minute, or at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about the episode. And it's occasion for me to jump on and kind of give those notes. But fun chat, you guys. And Scott, is so awesome to have you back on. We got to do that more often, for sure. Absolutely. Where do people find you out there if they want to talk to you about lanterns? How do they do that?
I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram and Facebook, just under Scott Tipton. And then you can see me talking about comics new and old twice a week at 13thdimension.com.
Totally awesome. Peter, what about you?
Well, you can find me around the interwebs at Patrick Aquinas on most social platforms. I'm not super active, but if you say, hey, I want to tell you that your take on Green Lanterns was dumb, then you can, and then maybe I'll respond. Otherwise, you can find me on the Discord, on ELH's Discord, where we play some Star Trek games, and then behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior and now Star Trek Aftermath.
I love it. And I do run the Secret Friends Unite socials. We're everywhere except for really TikTok and X, as well as my own. I am at the C3, THECEETHREE. I also fairly regular doing my little 3-minute kitchen chats where I'm just catching people up on stuff that doesn't make it onto the show. But again, secretfriendsunite.com is where you find all of our podcasts, and on our YouTube channel. We're getting back. We're kind of dipping our toe into publishing our regular podcasts as videos now to see if anybody wants to see us talking. I don't know. It's an experiment, but we'll see. Maybe people are into that. But all the audio is there as well as finding us on all other big streamers. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite is where you find all of our stuff all combined together. And again, try us out for a week for free, half off your first month, and then stay on board for as little as $2 a month. We would absolutely love to have you. With that, friends, as always, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.